Question number 3, David Bennett.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Finance. What reports has he received on the economy?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, earlier today, Statistics New Zealand released its latest data on employment and wages. Unemployment has fallen to 4.9%, its lowest level since the global financial crisis, supported by a 1.4% lift in employment and a 1.2% lift in hours worked in the September quarter. 144,000 jobs have been added to the economy in the last year. The labour force participation rate has reached 70.1%, the highest level in the 30-year history of the Household Labour Force Survey, and New Zealand's employment rate, that is the proportion of the population in employment, is now the second highest in the OECD.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, David Bennett.
How are rising wages and low inflation putting more spending power in the pockets of New Zealand households?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, statistics report that average weekly wages increased 1.9% in the last year, led by wage increases for nurses, primary school teachers and the police. Over the same period, inflation was just 0.2%, which means real increases in New Zealanders' wages. This confirms that the economy is generating higher incomes and more jobs for families and households.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, David Bennett.
How is broad-based economic growth helping to support regional growth?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, one aspect of the statistics that is particularly pleasing is the falling unemployment in many regions, particularly the West Coast, Manawatu, Wanganui, Northland and the Waikato, with a number of regions having unemployment under 5% and some even under 4%, a testament to the excellent efforts of the Minister for Economic Development, the Honourable Stephen Joyce, as well as the resilience of our resource-based regional economies. There are some other aspects of the release that are positive. There are fewer unemployed women, down to 5.1% from 5.4%. The unemployment rate for Māori and Pacifica are still too high, but both have dropped by about 2% over the last year.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, David Bennett.
What reports has he received showing how elevated business optimism is supporting a strong investment outlook for New Zealand?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, no one gets a job unless a business decides to take the risk of hiring a person, or employment doesn't go up unless they take the risk of hiring an extra person over and above the staff that they already have. The ANZ Business Outlook Survey reports a net 38% of businesses are optimistic about their own prospects for the year ahead, and 21% of them are expecting to hire new staff. Importantly, a net 19% intend to invest. And these expectations for more investment and more jobs are above the long-term average. Residential and commercial building intentions are particularly strong.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Can the Minister confirm that today's release shows that there are 3,000 more actual people unemployed than there were at the start of the year?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, that may well be the case, but fortunately, there's a lot more people in work, and for those who aren't in work, there's two things going for them. One is they're in one of the faster growing economies in the developed world, so the opportunities are as good here as anywhere. And secondly, for those who aren't in work and are in the welfare system, the government has in place a comprehensive process to support those people getting back into work.